The evening was quiet, almost too quiet, the kind that made every small sound feel louder than it should. Daniel sat alone in his small apartment, the glow of his laptop lighting up his tired face. Outside, the city moved on without him. Cars passing, lives continuing. Inside, he focused on numbers. Rent paid, electricity paid, internet paid, another transfer sent to his parents' account. Another month handled. His shoulders ached, but there was a familiar comfort in knowing things were settled. Even if no one thanked him, at least he knew he had done his duty. Daniel closed the laptop and leaned back, rubbing his eyes. He thought about how different his life had become since he moved away from home. He worked long hours, skipped gatherings, and lived carefully, always watching his spending. Not because he wanted luxury, but because his family needed him. His parents were aging. His sister Maya was still finding herself. That responsibility had slowly landed on his shoulders, and over time, it stopped feeling temporary. It became his role. His phone buzzed on the table. Maya's name lit up. The screen. Daniel smiled without thinking. Despite everything, her calls still gave him hope. Maybe she missed him. Maybe this time she would ask how he was doing. He answered quickly, "Hey, Maya." But she didn't reply. Instead, he heard voices. Laughter. The sound of plates clinking. A room full of people. Daniel frowned slightly. He stayed quiet, thinking she might have put him on speaker by mistake. Then he heard his mother's voice, sharp and clear. "He sends the money on time. I'll give him that," she said. "But honestly, he's so distant now. Acts like we should be proud just because he pays bills." Daniel's smile faded. His father replied calmly, almost bored. "That's all he's good for. He chose his life. This is how he helps." Someone laughed. A short, careless laugh. Daniel's heart began to pound. His mouth went dry. He wanted to speak, to interrupt. But something froze him in place. His hand tightened around the phone. Then Maya's voice came through, closer, brighter, and somehow colder than the others. "Don't worry," she said lightly. "He won't stop. He needs to feel useful. If he ever complains, just remind him. We're family." More laughter followed. Easy, comfortable, as if his feelings were a joke everyone understood. Daniel stared at the wall in front of him. It felt like the room was tilting. Every word landed heavy, pressing down on memories he had tried not to examine too closely. Late nights, missed holidays, the time he couldn't afford a vacation because his father needed repairs on the house. The way every call turned into a request. The voices kept going. "He was always sensitive," his mother said. "If he hears this, he'll just feel sorry for himself." Daniel's breathing grew shallow. His chest felt tight, like something was sitting on it. He realized his sister hadn't accidentally muted the call yet. She hadn't noticed. Or maybe she hadn't cared enough to check. For a moment, Daniel wondered if this was normal. If all families spoke this way when someone wasn't around. He searched for an excuse, anything to soften the words. But deep down, he knew the truth. This wasn't frustration spoken in anger. This was how they really saw him. A tool, a solution, a name attached to payments. Suddenly, the phone shifted. The voices blurred, then stopped. The call ended without warning. Daniel lowered the phone slowly and placed it on the table. His hands were shaking. He sat there, unmoving, listening to the hum of the refrigerator, the distant sound of traffic. The apartment felt colder than before. He didn't cry. Not yet. Instead, his mind replayed the conversation again and again, each line cutting deeper. He thought about how often he defended his family to friends. How he said they were proud of him, just bad at showing it. How he believed that love didn't always sound kind. Now that belief cracked. Daniel stood up and walked to the window. He looked down at the street below, watching strangers laugh, talk, live. He wondered how many of them knew their place in the lives of the people they loved. How many of them were valued only when they were useful. His phone buzzed again. A message from Maya appeared. Oops, pocket call. That was it. No apology. No explanation. Daniel felt something shift inside him. Not rage. Not yet. Something quieter. Heavier. A deep disappointment that settled into his bones. He realized that the betrayal wasn't just the words. It was the ease with which they were said. The comfort they had in believing he would never hear them. Never leave. Never change. He walked back to the table and sat down. He opened his banking app again, staring at the list of payments he had just made. Each one now felt different. Each number carried a voice, a laugh, a judgment. For the first time, Daniel asked himself a question he had avoided for years. If he stopped paying, who would he be to them? The answer scared him. The apartment was still silent, but the silence no longer felt safe. It felt like their calm before something important. Daniel leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees, staring at the floor. He wasn't thinking about revenge yet. He was thinking about truth. And once the truth is heard, it can never be unheard. Daniel did not confront them right away. The days after the call passed quickly, but inside his mind, everything moved fast and loud. He went to work, answered emails, smiled at co-workers, and followed his routine, yet every action felt hollow. The words he had heard followed him everywhere. They echoed in the quiet moments, in the pauses between tasks, in the late nights when sleep refused to come. He tried to push them away, but they stayed, sharp and clear. His phone kept lighting up. Messages from his family arrived as if nothing had happened. His mother reminded him about groceries. His father mentioned a repair that could not wait. Maya sent a voice note complaining about rent and how stressful her life had become. None of them asked if he was okay. None of them sensed the shift. To them, Daniel was still steady, still reliable, still silent. At night, Daniel sat at his kitchen table with the lights off, scrolling through old conversations. He noticed patterns he had once ignored. Every call ended with a need. Every message carried expectation. Praise appeared only when money arrived. Affection followed transfers, not effort. The realization hurt more than the insult itself. It meant the betrayal was not sudden. It had been growing quietly for years. Anger began to surface, slow and controlled. It was not explosive. It was focused. Daniel started asking questions he had never allowed himself to ask. Why was he responsible for everyone? When did help become obligation? When did love turn into leverage? The answers were uncomfortable, but they were honest. He opened his banking app again, not to send money this time, but to study it. He traced every payment with his finger, month by month. Rent, utilities, phone plans, extra transfers labeled emergency. The total stunned him. He calculated what that money could have done for his own life. The savings he never built. The rest he never took. The dreams he postponed without a second thought. A part of him felt guilty for even thinking this way. His parents had struggled. Maya had relied on him. Family helps family. He had always believed that. But another part of him, a stronger part now, asked a simple question. Help was supposed to be given, not taken for granted. Respect was supposed to come with sacrifice, not disappear because of it. Daniel's sleep grew lighter. He woke early, his mind already racing. Thoughts of revenge crept in, uninvited but tempting. He imagined cutting off payments without warning. Imagined silence on the other end of the phone. Imagined panic replacing comfort. The idea brought a sharp sense of control, and that scared him. He did not want to become cruel. He wanted fairness. He wanted acknowledgement. At work, he made a mistake for the first time in months. His manager noticed and asked if everything was all right. Daniel nodded and apologized, but the question stayed with him. Everything was not all right. It hadn't been for a long time. He just hadn't allowed himself to admit it. One evening, Maya called again. Her tone was casual, relaxed, as if the world had not shifted under Daniel's feet. She talked about herself, her problems, her plans. Then she asked for money, as naturally as asking the time. Daniel listened quietly, his jaw tight. When she finished, she waited, confident. Daniel didn't answer right away. The silence confused her. "Are you there?" she asked. "Yes," he said calmly. He told her he would think about it. Maya laughed, assuming he was joking, and ended the call. Daniel set the phone down and stared at the wall. That small moment, that simple pause, felt powerful. For the first time, he had not rushed to solve their problems. The world did not end. The ceiling did not fall. He was still standing. Over the next few days, Daniel began planning, not out of hate, but out of self-respect. He wrote things down. Boundaries. Limits. What he would support and what he would not. He prepared for anger, for guilt, for emotional pressure. He knew his family well. They would not accept change easily. Still, doubt followed him. Late at night, he questioned himself. Was he being selfish? Was he overreacting to one conversation? He replayed the call again, but the words never softened. They stayed just as clear, just as careless. The doubt slowly lost its strength. Daniel realized revenge did not have to be loud. It did not have to be cruel. Sometimes, revenge was simply refusing to be used anymore. He also tried to understand his family's side. His parents had grown, used to depending on him. Maya had never learned independence because he made things easy. In their minds, Daniel's support was guaranteed. Change felt like betrayal to them, even if they had betrayed him first. That understanding didn't excuse their behavior, but it explained it. The conflict inside Daniel deepened. He stood between two versions of himself, the son and brother who gave without limits, the man who wanted dignity and peace. Choosing one meant losing part of the other. That truth weighed heavily on him. One night, he stood in front of the mirror, studying his tired eyes. He barely recognized the person staring back. He saw someone who had been strong for too long without rest. Someone who confused endurance with love. Daniel knew the next step would change everything. Whether he acted or stayed silent, nothing would be the same again. The anger had sharpened into resolve. The fear had not disappeared, but it no longer controlled him. As he turned off the lights and lay down, one thought settled clearly in his mind. He could no longer pretend he hadn't heard the truth. And whatever came next, he would face it awake. Daniel knew the moment was coming. He felt it in the way his phone stayed quiet longer than usual, as if his family sensed a shift even without understanding it. He moved through his days with purpose now. The confusion had faded. What remained was a steady pressure in his chest, pushing him toward a decision he could no longer delay. The call came on a Friday evening. Maya's name appeared on the screen again. Daniel did not answer right away. He watched the phone vibrate, remembering how quickly he used to pick up, how eager he once was to prove he was there. When he finally answered, his voice was calm, almost distant. Maya didn't waste time. She sounded irritated, stressed, offended. That life was not cooperating with her. She spoke fast, listing problems like items on a bill. Rent was overdue. Her card was maxed out. Their parents needed money for a family event. She ended with a soft laugh, the kind meant to hide expectation. "So yeah," she said, "I'll send you the details." Daniel closed his eyes. This was it. He thought about the younger version of himself, the one who believed silence was kindness and sacrifice was love. He thought about the call, the laughter, the way his name had been reduced to a joke. His grip tightened around the phone. "I heard you," he said quietly. There was a pause. "What?" "I heard everything," Daniel repeated. "That night. The call you didn't mean to make." Silence filled the line. The confident tone disappeared. Maya laughed nervously, searching for control. "Oh my God, you're still on that?" "You took it seriously." Daniel stood up, pacing the room. His heart beat fast, but his mind was clear. "You weren't joking." "None of you were." Maya sighed, impatient now. "You're overthinking. Parents complain. It doesn't mean anything." "It meant something to me," Daniel said. She changed her tone, softer, defensive. "You know we appreciate you. We just don't say it all the time." Daniel stopped walking. That sentence hit harder than the insults. Not because it hurt, but because it confirmed everything. Appreciation that needed excuses was not appreciation at all. Before he could respond, his mother's voice suddenly joined the call. Maya had put him on speaker. "Daniel," his mother said, her voice sharp with concern and control. "Why are you upsetting your sister? She's under enough stress." Daniel felt the weight of years settle on his shoulders. This was the moment his anger had been building toward. He could unleash it. He could remind them of every sacrifice, every bill, every quiet struggle. He could shame them the way they had shamed him. His finger hovered near the screen. Revenge waited there, easy and tempting. But Daniel did something unexpected. He took a deep breath. "I'm not upsetting her," he said evenly. "I'm telling you the truth." His father joined in next, calm but firm. "What truth? That you're tired. Everyone is tired. Family supports family." Daniel almost laughed. The words sounded hollow now. Familiar, worn thin by overuse. He realized then that they truly believed this. In their minds, they were not wrong. They felt entitled because he had allowed it for so long. That understanding cooled his anger. "I have supported this family for years," Daniel said. "I never complained. I never asked for thanks. But respect matters." His mother scoffed. "So now you want praise? Is that it?" "No," Daniel replied. "I want boundaries." The word landed heavy. Silence followed, then disbelief. Maya spoke first. "What does that even mean?" "It means things change," Daniel said. "I'll help where I can, but I won't carry everything. And I won't be spoken about like I don't matter." His father's voice hardened. "Ah, you threatening us?" Daniel felt his pulse slow. This was the edge. One step forward meant no turning back. He thought about ending support completely, about forcing them to face consequences all at once. The idea still tempted him, but he remembered why he wanted revenge in the first place. Not to hurt them, to stop hurting himself. "No," he said. "I'm being honest." He explained, calmly, reduced payments, shared responsibility. No more surprise demands. No more guilt. Every word felt like lifting a weight from his chest. The reaction was immediate. His mother accused him of being ungrateful. His father reminded him of everything they had done for him growing up. Maya cried, then blamed him for abandoning them. The pressure came fast, emotional and sharp, designed to pull him back into his old role. Daniel listened without interrupting. For the first time, he didn't rush to fix the situation. When the voices slowed, he spoke one last time. "I love you, but I won't live like this anymore." Then he ended the call. The room felt strangely quiet. His hands trembled, but his chest felt lighter. He sat down slowly, staring at the floor, waiting for regret to rush in. It didn't. What came instead was fear mixed with relief. He had crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. The power dynamic had shifted. He knew the next days would be difficult. Anger, silence, distance. All of it was coming. But so was something else. Freedom. Daniel looked around his apartment. Nothing had changed, yet everything felt different. He hadn't destroyed his family. He hadn't walked away completely. He had chosen a middle path, one that required strength instead of anger. That choice was his real revenge. Not punishment, not cruelty, but refusal. And in that moment, Daniel understood that the hardest battles are not fought against others, but against the versions of ourselves that learn to survive by staying silent. The days after the call felt strange, like walking through a familiar place after all the furniture had been moved. Daniel woke up expecting panic, regret, or guilt to hit him all at once. Instead, there was quiet. Not empty silence, but a calm he had never allowed himself to feel before. His phone stayed still longer than usual, and for the first time, that did not scare him. When messages finally came, they were short and sharp. His mother sent a single line asking if he had changed his mind. His father reminded him that family should stay united. Maya sent nothing at all. The absence hurt more than the anger, but Daniel accepted it. He knew this distance was part of the cost of choosing himself at work. His focus returned. Tasks felt lighter without the constant worry of someone else's emergency. He finished early, something that rarely happened before. As he left the office, he noticed the sky was clear, the air cool. Small things stood out now. Things he used to miss while carrying everyone else's weight at home. Daniel opened his budget again. This time, not with tension, but with control. He adjusted numbers, moved money into savings, planned repairs for his own apartment. Each decision felt solid, real. He realized how long he had lived in survival mode, reacting instead of choosing. A week later, Maya called. Daniel hesitated, then answered. Her voice was different, quieter, careful. She didn't apologize, not directly. Instead, she spoke about how stressful things had been, how she was trying to figure things out. Daniel listened without interrupting. He noticed how she avoided the past, how she spoke as if everything had simply changed on its own. "I didn't know you felt that way," she said finally. Daniel exhaled slowly. "I didn't know how to say it before." There was a pause. Not awkward, but honest. For the first time, their conversation didn't end with a request. When the call ended, Daniel felt something loosen inside him. Not forgiveness. Understanding. His parents took longer. They called together one evening. Their voices were formal, guarded. They spoke about expenses, about plans, about adjusting. No apologies came, but neither did insults. It was a negotiation now, not a demand. Daniel agreed to limited help, clear and defined. When the call ended, he realized something important. They were adapting. Slowly, life settled into a new rhythm. The fear of being cut off was replaced by structure. Daniel no longer jumped when his phone buzzed. He no longer measured his worth by what he could give. Some nights were still heavy. Years of habit do not disappear overnight. Guilt visited him quietly, asking if he had done enough, if he should do more. But then he remembered the laughter on that call, the ease of it, the way his pain had been. Invisible, that memory grounded him. One evening, Daniel met an old friend for coffee. They talked about work, about life, about plans. When the friend asked how his family was doing, Daniel answered honestly, without defending or explaining. The words came easily. He realized he was no longer ashamed of his truth. As weeks passed, the anger faded. Revenge, the kind that burns and destroys, lost its grip. What remained was clarity. Daniel understood now that his family had not woken up one day and decided to hurt him. They had grown comfortable, entitled, and he had allowed it. Believing silence was love. That realization did not excuse them, but it freed him from blaming himself completely. Late one night, Daniel stood on his balcony, looking out at the city lights. He thought about how close he had come to cutting all ties. How easy it would have been to let bitterness guide him. He imagined the satisfaction that might have come from watching them struggle. The idea no longer appealed to him. He didn't need them to suffer. He needed to live. The true consequence of revenge, he realized, was not what it did to others, but what it turned the person into. He had chosen a different ending, one that required patience, honesty, and courage. His family relationship was not perfect. It might never be. Some distance remained, and maybe it always would. But the distance was healthier than the closeness that had once drained him. Daniel slept better now. He woke with energy instead of dread. His life felt like his own, not something borrowed and divided. The betrayal still existed, but it no longer controlled him. In choosing boundaries over destruction, Daniel had found something stronger than revenge. Self-respect. And in that quiet victory, he understood the final lesson. Revenge promises power, but it steals peace. Letting go does not mean losing. Sometimes it means finally winning.